Yeah, everybody, it's story time featuring by Mikel DeSilvis. We'll go on short in short journeys. We'll go on long in distant worlds. A story time show that's approved by church leaders and friends like yours. Yeah, I know it's story time. Yeah, it's story time. So we'll go on journeys far and wide. We'll go to distant worlds in time. Talk about human experiences as we know it's story time. Where we go, hey kids, it's friendly story time. Yes, it's story time. Hey, it's story time. And today we have a story for you that deals with an adventure of a boy going to Christian camp. This boy's name is Casey. And one thing he always looked forward more than anything in the world was getting out of school and going to summer camp with his friends. Because these friends didn't live nowhere nearby. These friends weren't local. These friends were from other counties, and so therefore they only saw each other or got to see each other at camp, which is where he went, which is Oak Hill Christian Service Camp. He really looked forward to that camp time in the summertime more than anything else in the whole wide world. Because he got to catch up with all the doings of all his friends that weren't locally around because they were from different counties. He also got to catch up with the latest things that they were doing in their churches and so forth, and schools. Got to participate in all the fun activities and exciting. And one day when his mom came to him, she said, "Guess what, son?" Casey said excitedly and frantically, "What?" And of course her mom said, "You need to pack your bags because you're going to Super Summer. You're going to Oak Hill Christian Service Camp." And so he goes running up the stairs, and frantically packed his bags because he was so excited. His heart was overjoyed because of going to camp and meeting his friends that he hasn't seen all since last summer. So he gone up there and packed his bags, gone to church that day. All he could think about is meeting all his friends at camp after church, because they go to church in the morning, and then about an hour or two after they go out to eat, get something to eat at a restaurant somewhere where the parents go to eat after church service. They go flocking all to camp, and a lot of kids were there. And the first night was just check-in, where they register and check in. Parents fill out all the information, about, their children, and then the parents pay to go to camp. And then after that, the next day, they would pick teams. Actually, that night before we get to the next day, they would pick teams so they could be anything they wanted. Their team was the Cardinals because Casey was from Virginia, and Casey loved the Cardinal because it was a pretty bird, and he picked that for his team, and all his team agreed fully in agreement with that name. So, and other kids had the Tigers, the Dodgers, the Bears, the Joshuas, so they had 4 or 5 teams. But the Cardinals, they did very well among all the other teams that were there. But on Monday morning, they went to swimming that night. They went swimming because they got there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They went swimming, and then they had supper, and then they had song where they went and sang songs that were camp songs that they've had to learn during the week. So they had to learn those songs, and then as they learned them, they became easy because they knew what the lyrics were or the words were to those songs, and they were easy songs to learn. And then of course, they had campfire, and that's where the kids would go, and they would have campfire and sing around the campfire, and then the counselors would tell a story, maybe a Christian ghost story, or just a regular ghost story where other kids would tell ghost stories. And of course, Casey, he loved those stories because he didn't have to worry about going to bed earlier like he did when he was at home, because, he went to bed at 9 o'clock. But at camp, they didn't go to bed till 11 o'clock. But see, the thing is, they had to get up real early the next morning, each and every morning at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. and then to be down at the mess hall, which is where they ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner, every day for that week. So anyway, they told stories, they sang songs, said a prayer, and they all were dismissed to go back to their cabins. Casey went to his cabin and got undressed for the night, went to the bathroom. He went to the bathroom, which was not in the cabin. You had to walk to the bathroom. Same thing for the girls' cabins. The bathroom wasn't in the cabin. You actually had to walk about a block or two to get to it. And he was out there walking, and it was dark. And Casey heard this noise that was rustling and flying overhead. He heard this noise. He got real scared. So he ran back to the counselor. He said, "What's that noise? What's that noise? That thing scared me. I thought it was going to come after me." And the counselor explained to him, "No, Casey, that was just an owl. That was just an owl. You don't have nothing to worry about. There are a lot of owls out here in the woods, and they come out at night and make that noise. Did you hear a whoo-hoo?" He said, "Yeah, I heard something like that." "Well, that was just an owl. You don't have nothing to worry about." So he ran back out and went walking fast to the bathroom because he was still worried that the owl may try to get him. But, of course, the owl was not going to get him at all. So he ran in there and used the bathroom and brushed his teeth. And then he got ready for bed and came back to the cabin. And, of course, in there they would tell jokes and make pooting sounds, and all the kids would laugh, after they would all see who could poot the loudest. And after a while, the counselor would say, "All right, it's time to go to bed." After the lights were out, they got to talk for a little bit, and then they would all go to bed. And, of course, still make noises until they all tired out. And, of course, everybody had fans, because back in that day, they didn't have central air in the cabins. They had to use regular fans to keep it cool. But the cabins were all under the trees, so at night, even when it got hot, it was really cool underneath those trees, because they would make it really cold because they would capture the air. And Casey loved that. It felt like air conditioner overnight, and so it felt very cool. And you could be in your sleep bag. It would sometimes get really cool, as a matter of fact. So the bell would ring in the morning, and it would go, and of course that was time to get up. And they would hear all that every morning at 7:30 sharp a.m. So they all had to get up that morning. So it was important that they went to bed at night. So that's why they did it. Got to bed around 12:31. Everybody started going to sleep. So the next morning they heard that bell sound. And they all wearily got ready to get dressed. They got ready, brushed their teeth and all that good stuff. And all went out to line up and outside of the mess hall, and this is what they did each and every morning for the next 7 days before their meals. They had to line up there, and one of the counselors would pray or give a small devotion and then pray, and then they would all go in. And the Cardinals would go in. Then it would be the other teams would go in, and they would go in and get their food, and they would go in by team. And they would have what is called bunk check, which means your bunk had to be neat. And if it was really neat all week long, you would get a certificate, which means you would get a free pass to come to camp next summer. And Casey got a few of those. This year he got one too. And he also was talented. On talent night, which they had on Friday night, he'd get up there and he sang. And he also played the trumpet. And everybody cheered. They thought he was like a rock star. And everybody would just go crazy, because he did so good. He was really a good singer. And everybody enjoyed his entertainment and also enjoyed his trumpet playing. And he played with the real trumpet. He'd get up there and go, and that's what he did, and everybody was went all wild, And of course, he did it with a real trumpet. I did it with an imaginary trumpet, so you get adjusted to what it sounded like. But it was really good, and everybody was just going crazy because they loved it. And everybody thought he was going to be famous, and he probably was famous. But Casey really had a ball, and he got phone numbers from some girls, and got some phone numbers from a lot of his friends there, so he could keep in touch with them during the school year and talk to them, see how they were doing, and catch up with the things that they were doing during the year too. So he always looked forward to going to Oak Hill Christian Service Camp, which is located in Mechanicsville, Virginia, right off of 360. It's out by Camp Hanover. They're like literally about across from each other, but it's out by West Store. You take a right there, at West Store and go about 1/4 of a mile. And then you take a right off of that road and go down this dirt road, and it goes all the way to the camp building. You just follow it until you get to camp. It's a real pretty place to go. Send your children. A lot of Christian counselors is there, and a lot of people there devoted to help people to know about Jesus Christ. And that's where I went, but also Casey went there too. So I hope you like this short story, and I hope you'll go there this summer to go fishing, to go swimming, to play games like hide and go seek, to play archery, it's where you shoot an arrow at a target, and if you get bullseye, you get 100 points. And of course, they also compete with other teams, like we're talking about how his team was the Cardinals. And of course, they learned a lot of stuff, and they learned a lot about the Word, and they were singing songs, and they had talent night where they could all do a skit or play, as we learned earlier. And of course, they really loved the Lord Jesus. So I hope you enjoyed today's story time. Well, it's story time, short stories for kids friendly, and as for you, it's story time. Well, it's story time. Yes, it's story time. See you next week with another edition of Story Time. Short stories by me, Mikel DeSilvis, evangelist Mikel DeSilvis at New Hunter Church of Christ. Hope to see you here on Wednesday night or evening get together. See you then. Bye. Love, always in the Lord. See you next week.